Hi, welcome back to another episode of Dimensions with D. Today I have a special guest. Ren, tell me, tell the listeners about yourself a little bit about yourself.
Hello, my name is Ren. I've been a student here at the University of Memphis for quite a while. I'm a graduate student, like yourself, right?
Yeah.
Correct. And I'm studying liberal studies with a focus on culture and religious studies. And just to be a bit more specific, in the context of what I study, the word liberal means interdisciplinary. So that means that we find the spaces in between disciplines and come to philosophical and or humanitarian conclusions based on various disciplines. So maybe humanitarian might not be the specific
Yeah,
word, but you know what I mean. So yeah.
yeah, pretty cool. Now, recently I found that you're a writer, and we were discussing this recently
Yeah.
about how you write pretty much mainly not fiction, not fiction, but fiction stories, right?
I have written a few pieces of nonfiction about sea creatures,
Sea creatures.
but that was in my younger years. I mainly write fiction, and I've been to writers' workshops. I've been to various how do I put this uh, creative writing workshops sessions to build my characters, and um, I think one thing that helps is my hobbies. Specifically, I will say Dungeons and Dragons
Yeah.
very much helps build on my characters, which are largely based off the things that I study, and most particularly religious studies. So, yeah, and fantastical worlds.
The Does your stories have like more of a religious aspect to it, or is it just like kind of like a pillar of your stories?
It's um, it's both.
Okay.
It can be anything from religion in a good sense
Hmm.
or religion in a bad sense. You know, if you're familiar with the Dune series or
Yeah, I'm
movies,
yeah.
we actually see the main character, Paul Atreides, this messianic character
Hmm.
who we tend to think that a messianic character is a perfect character, but the reality is that that's not always the case. Many times in Judaism, there have been people who believed that certain figures were messianic, and in fact, those people throughout history have actually just led the people into destruction. In the same case with Paul, he leads his empire in this dictatorship kind of way, and it's not reflective of what we might think a messianic character is, at least in a Christian context, in a Western Christian context. So yeah.
So when you're writing like those type of stories, do you write the story with the intended message, or do you just like write freely and then the message happens to be in the story?
Both. I think I write the message. I write the messages as a subtext to my stories, um, and I stick into it a lot of modern day mythologies, cosmologies from any existing religion or from a dead religion, um, and it's encouraging the reader to think about their own religion, their own spirituality, and think of it outside the box. Um, Not discouraging them or encouraging in any which way of bias. Yeah. So
Yeah, and you mentioned bias. So how do you is it hard to like write without trying to sway like a reader one way or the other?
in my field of study, no,
Oh, okay.
it's not that hard because if you grew up in a specific practice, religious or spiritual, um, and this is what we learn in interdisciplinary or liberal studies, is we tend to in school, and I'm just going to use school as an example,
Hmm.
but in school we tend to separate things: math, science, um, astronomy. As obviously like it goes on and upward, But the reality is that um, back in the early days, before modern civilization, there was no distinguishment between philosophy or thoughts of God. There was no distinction. There was no distinction between hypothetical science and real science. Sometimes this would be called alchemy, um, or the spiritual with the planets. This would be called astrology.
Oh,
So, um, when you look at these things and you deconstruct them and then reconstruct them, and you're a writer, it's actually quite easy to write things in a not biased way because you know how to deconstruct and reconstruct an argument or a viewpoint in your writing.
now does that take like a while to do, or is it just like because you like taking those classes, it like it helps you get to that point?
Well, taking classes is actually not enough. It's experience.
Okay.
So you can learn all about these things. You can sit in a classroom all day, and it widens your thinking of sorts. But if if someone identifies, for example, a philosopher as someone who sits and thinks, that's something that we have in this modern day of this modernist, postmodernist idea of sitting and thinking and having some existential thought or nihilist thought or any thought, you know, but we don't do anything about it, then you cease to be a true philosopher. You cease to be a a doer of whatever you believe, right?
Yeah.
That's why we have in the early days philosophers like Socrates and Plato and Aristotle would go out and debate people. I think we've lost that art as an American society. Now, bringing it back to writing, if we know how to, if we have real world experience doing things like having dialogues with people or working with various people groups, then that will give you a template of sorts of what to write, of how to write, because you won't have any biases, hopefully, in what you're writing.
So when you say like a template, I guess of people like culture, do you mean like I guess what you've read or like what you experienced like firsthand or both?
So a lot of my, at least my more newer writing, has actually been influenced by me visiting a synagogue and a mosque. Um,
Here in Memphis or somewhere else?
and I'm here in Memphis
Okay.
actually, and because a lot of the writing that I'm writing these days is kind of this um, post institutional, should I say? How about that? A post institutional apocalyptic idea of the world that sounds very Abrahamic. Um, so when I say post-institutional, you have the deconstruction, not the deconstruction. I'm so sorry. I've been saying that a lot in this episode. Oops. But you have this kind of breaking down of the gods. You
Yeah.
know? Like the whole world is in disarray because the whole hierarchy of these council of gods is gone. It's destroyed. And but what we have in the remains are the symbols of that religion, those religious symbols. And while there are no longer the power of the gods in these universes, they still mean a lot to people. Um, I take that inspiration, um, actually more specifically from Judaism. Um, Historically, Judaism has gone through so much. Um, from being called to be God's chosen people,
Mhm.
to surviving so much. Obviously, the recent one, the Holocaust.
Yeah.
Where there have been different times in history when the Jewish people have suffered, but they still hold on, you know. And I take a lot of inspiration from that idea, um, especially when I visited a Reformed Jewish synagogue, Temple Israel. Um, so if we have anyone listening who's from Temple Israel, yeah, that's for you. Um, but yeah, so just like the mysticism, and while they might have they they as in the characters in my story might have lost faith, they'll still keep going because that it's just so ingrained in their culture. It's so ingrained in what they believe, and they want to keep the traditions alive. So yeah.
Yeah. So would you say like faith is like a very important, I guess, theme, or I guess something central to your stories that you like put in like all your stories?
Well, faith, not just religious faith, but also faith in friendship. Trusting your friends, trusting your teachers, trusting in a religious aspect, trusting your gods, trusting your one God if you're monotheistic in this universe. But yeah, I guess faith would be a good way to put it. Yeah.
Now, are there any like other I guess I put it like life lessons that you put in your stories, or like you hope like readers will take away from your stories?
So one of my characters, she is a priest's daughter in her own universe. When and she's not popular in school. Okay, her name is Isabella Constantina, but she's not popular in her school. She's kind of a how do you put this? She's kind of like a social pariah. Um, now, she, she there's this whole thing that happens, but basically, she gets put into another universe where she actually gets the chance to start over in a very big way because when she gets put in this other universe, she is actually part of a line of divine divine beings that wields the power of these lost gods, these dead gods, and and she's kind of like, oh yay, now I can live life in the way that I was meant to be. I feel like I have a purpose now, and my purpose is to free the peoples of Nigeria. It actually sounds like Lord of the Rings a little bit. Is to free the peoples of Nigeria from this evil murder of the gods, and she does that. Uh, she does a great thing, but what she doesn't realize is that everyone is scared of her. She's a monster now.
Even in the new universe?
In the new universe, she's a monster because she's wildly on the battlefield, and even when it comes to strategic meetings with like her alliances, she's wild. She's uncontrollable, and she's always like, I can do this myself. I can do this myself. I am the Meshiach. I am the Messiah. That's Aramaic for not Aramaic. I'll just say that's Hebrew Aramaic for Messiah. And so she's like this Moses-like figure, and she's wrong because what she's forgetting is how humble her origins were. She's forgetting what it meant to be human, and she performs in such a way that she ceases to no longer be relatable. And she has various I have various characters that kind of try to bring her back in this sense because she needs this humility, but also at the same time she has a very traumatizing past from the world that she came from. And so yeah, I'm sorry, I kind of like forgot your question. I just kind of explained one of my characters.
Because I was gonna follow up and say like, do your stories have this one central character, or do they also have like supporting characters that like are like important to the plot as well.
So if you're familiar with Percy Jackson,
Yeah.
and the sequel series, which by the way I've actually never finished. I ended on the Mark of Athena, and that was years ago. I forgot where I left off in the Mark of Athena because I think I like went halfway through the book. But you see these different perspectives of like Jason, Annabeth, Piper, Percy, Nico, all these.
Mhm.
So there is kind of a central batch of main characters, but there's not really one main character. So in the first book that I have that is basically written, just obviously not published, is there is one central character who he kind of gets roped into the whole business of what's
Mhm.
going on in this other world by this mysterious figure who who is also just a seemingly young boy like him. Um, this the boy who ropes uh, who ropes the other guy in from this other universe. He's actually has a very dark past as a child of the gods, um, and so the first book is told from the perspective of Roku, who gets dragged in from this old world, and Sora, who is from this new world, who's the child of the gods. So it's told from different perspectives. Um, of course, like the later books will be also written from different perspectives as well, and see how they're reacting to the world around them. And yeah.
Yes. So you mentioned like well that story or that book. So I was wondering why you were like tell me about it. Like how long did you make it like the story?
This like long as an owl. Like how many pages?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's actually not that long of a read. It's 73 pages as of currently, unless I decide to like I don't know, edit it for like the umpteenth time, but it's 73 pages.
So my next question is like how did you find I guess creativity like to keep going with like more story for the pages?
Um like are you talking about when I was writing the 73 pages?
Yes, yeah, like because to me like 73 is kind of a lot, and so I guess yeah, because like I feel like can't make it past like 15 pages. I guess I guess from my school burnout, my peers for school, and so like
Yeah.
and so I feel like right now I think the max I've hit would be like 12 pages, and so for you to say 73, that seemed like like a while, like years or something like that. And so
Mhm.
so I guess I'm just wondering like how did you get like I guess that much creativity to just keep going?
Well, I'm not gonna lie, 73 pages took about 2 years.
Also, basically kind of like how like the doctor students be with their like thesis or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
okay.
took 2 years to write 73 pages. Um, um, because how do I put this? I had to I had to have a community of people to help me edit, to help me look at the text, help me edit it again, and edit it more, and edit it more, and edit it more. And because originally it wasn't 73 pages, it was more. I
Oh,
can't
really?
remember. Yeah. If you're wondering how it took or what motivated me to take more than 73 pages, I don't know. But it's the thrill of it, you know. Um, for me, I find writing as a kind of safe haven from the uh, the pressures of social life.
Yeah.
These are characters that I created. These are characters that not just me but other people have fleshed out. These are characters that are inspired by culture. Uh, these are characters that are inspired by various religious traditions, and all of this comes from this side of me that just loves being introverted. You know, this side of me that, in the depths of being alone, instead of like I don't know, thinking thoughts of uh, what should I do? It's always for me, and I think it might happen it can be a problem. But I always want to do something, and so for me, that does tend to be writing.
Yeah.
So that is what the motivator for me. Um, of course, the little the longer version of the 73 papers uh, had to be, parts of it are going to be in more books, in further books, um, rather than it being in just one ginormous volume. So, so yeah, that's I think the motivator for me.
Now you mentioned having people look at your story and that kind of helped you kind of condense your story down. And so I was wondering, like, I guess, how did you find those people to help you do that, and like, how helpful has that been?
Um, just friends.
Okay.
No one, kind of like no one have I have not met a single person who I'm close with at least who's who's like been super invested in this work, like in the sense of like they've read 73 pages, they've edited the 73 pages, they did all that. No, but I've had people who have read it by like excerpts by chapters. So it's like kind of like various. If I were to, this is gonna sound a little gruesome, but if I were to collect the or gather the minds of these people in like one room, collectively they would have all read the book.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. But they haven't all like read it
Individually.
completely, like completely.
Yeah.
But they've all read parts of the book, and in total they would have read the whole book.
Yeah.
Yeah. So finding those people, I mean, it just really comes down to good community and good friends. Yeah, I'm just blessed to have that. um, yeah, the writer's life is not a life that you live alone. Even though I would absolutely stress that creativity comes most when you are alone, but creativity doesn't fully blossom in the darkness. No flower blossoms in the darkness. That just doesn't work.
Yeah. Can I would say that's kind of like something that I guess I've been dealing with. I guess it's just like I guess getting people, I guess, to read my work, I would say. And so, I guess besides class, I would say, I'll say there's kind of like no one. That's how I was asking you, like how did you like find like your community, your people would like to read your work. And so yeah, so I guess that was like kind of like really interesting to hear.
Yeah, I will say that um, because I have a lot of mutual hobbies um,
Mhm.
with my friends, D&D most especially, and creative writing in a fantasy sense, religion or religious studies in another sense. Um, it's when you find those common denominators, and you're like, hey, so let me pull up actually this one that I wrote for one of the characters. I was like, hey, so this character of mine has a pet water cat named Jam, which comes from another Judaic or pre-Judaism polytheistic water god named Yom.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, hey, so and so friend, like, how do you like this kind of like Yom knockoff character? And they would give me critiques and how Yom fits into the story and if I'm culturally appropriating or if I'm or if I'm just being blatantly disrespectful. And they would check me. They would they would add ideas. They would criticize. It's just yeah. it's it's how to put it. If you have buddies in that are focused on specific disciplines, but know how to look at something from an
Yeah.
interdisciplinary nature, like converting religious or spiritual characters and spinning them into their own text, into their own writings, then there you go. And I also think too is with things like Percy Jackson, and there are other forms of media that I can even name that kind of do this thing of like rewriting the gods into their unique and creative literature. They That's also been a huge inspiration for me. And if you're interested, I could actually even name some of those. You know,
Sure.
yeah, those media. I think one of them is this anime. Yes, I'm bringing anime into it, but this anime called Danmachi. In English, it's the stupidest title. I kid you not. Is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon? Yeah. Yeah. No, it's gonna be this weird anime about so and so X Y Z and ill. Yeah, whatever. No, it's actually not. It's about a young boy who strives um, to be the hero of a city, and and he strives for justice and for goodness and for truth. And uh, there's this court called the Denatus. The Denatus is a council of gods from various pantheons, from Indian pantheons, like with Ganesha. Ganesha is a god. Hestia, the goddess of the hearth. Loki, Freya. From all kinds of pantheons, and they're all vying for. They want control of this pure boy, this pure soul, who he's just trying to be good and he's trying to be a hero. um, and so and so they're all kind of have they all it's the whole show in and of itself. It's like this kind of religious commentary, because some people are like, I follow this god, I follow that god, I follow this. And this boy, his name is Bel, he is with the goddess Hestia. And while he is with the goddess Hestia, he tries to just be good for the sake of no god, just for the sake of being good. And the show is has 5 seasons out. It's phenomenal. I'm still watching the 5th season, but I kind of grew up with the show, so um, it's phenomenal. There's also, like I mentioned, Percy Jackson, great. Um, Rick Riordan's other books, the Kane Chronicles, Magnus Chase. Um, you have other things. Currently, I'm actually reading The Dark Tower by Stephen King, which has some religious subtext.
Okay.
Dune also
Yeah.
is another one. So you have all these like commentaries that I am inspired by, and I also think that I'm also very much inspired by Japanese writing style. So like in the sense of like with anime,
Yeah.
light novels. I read light novels. I read manga, and I love the writing style. I mean, yeah, sometimes it gets goofy, but I like the writing style.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but but yeah, that's just my inspirations, my takes. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Now you mentioned like, well, you mentioned some of the characters that you've written about. So, would you say there's one that you like the most, or like that you like the most, or that you relate to the most?
Hmm. Ooh, yes. And I'm going to tell you something absolutely crazy. The characters that I like the most, at least, yeah, two of the three of them,
Mm-hmm.
I've killed off. Uh, tip for writers out there, and I've learned this in a writer's workshop, is do not be afraid to kill your characters. If you're writing a fantasy or if you're writing something serious, okay, you might have to, just for shock value, just kill them, um, and it makes the other characters better. You know, Luke Skywalker in Star Wars would never have been Luke Skywalker if Obi-Wan hadn't died. It's that it's very cliche in the hero's journey, and of course it can be rewritten in many different kinds of ways, but it's crucial. Um, it's crucial to the writing and moving the plot forward. Um, Now, is there a specific character that I relate to the most? Yes, one of the characters that uh, died, should I say, he has this he has this existential crisis. he's an orphan who's raised by monks. Um, the monks of these monks are the worshippers of a goddess from another universe, um, and he falls in love with a girl, and the girl kind of he claims that she is the problem and she broke his heart and everything, but the reality is that he's the one who's going through inner turmoil,
Yeah.
and he has to go on his own journey, and that journey ends in his death. And why does he die? He dies to protect his friends. And that just sounds kind of dark, but the allegory behind it all was uh, was kind of pointing to there's more of a noble purpose out there. If you do not have a purpose, or if you feel like you don't have a purpose, that purpose is out there, and that purpose, spoiler alert, is your friends. And yes, he did mess up with that girl because he should have been there for her. And she over time actually grew to hate him because of what he did. And
Or like I didn't do.
Hmm?
Like didn't do too.
Oh yeah, leaving her.
Yeah.
Yes, she grew on to hate him. And there's also that also other life lesson of your actions have consequences.
Mm-hmm.
And she becomes this kind of monstrous character throughout the story, and he's the most relatable. But I think my personal favorite
Mm-hmm.
is the owner of this pet jam that I mentioned earlier. Her name is Lilith, which comes from the Queen of Hell in the Hebrew mystical texts.
Yeah.
And she has a very funny story that kind of delves more into, again, Hebrew, but also Middle Eastern and Japanese cryptids as well. So it's like a whole mixture of like a lot of things, and she is kind of scary to some people, but she's highly misunderstood. I mean, she was able to make friends and tame the able to tame a water monster and make that water monster her pet. And she's a lovable character. She's just hard to understand for people, and so I think she would be my favorite character. Yeah, I'm probably never gonna kill her off because she is my favorite character. Yeah.
So she has like powers, or
She has powers. She has a. Oh yes. Yeah, you brought that up. Part of my world building is that I have incantations and magical spells. She's the only type of caster in my entire universe who knows how to do what's she knows how to tap into arcane magic without like chanting, but she can do ancient runes and summoning spells. So
so kind of like Scarlet Witch, kind of sort of.
she's actually no, yeah, I think so. Yeah, she's not even in. I haven't even consciously thought that she might be close to Scarlet Witch, but yeah, I would say so. Scarlet Witch in Multiverse of Madness,
Yeah.
actually more particularly because Lilith is a multiversal being. So she has spawned in different eras in time and messed up universes on complete accident. She has no idea what's going on because that's how powerful she is. So yeah, but I'm not copying off Scarlet Witch. I actually had no idea. I never really thought of that, but yeah, Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now that is your character, because your character was like Lilith for the Queen of Hell, right?
She's inspired by the Queen of Hell, but she's not like in the universe. There is
Okay.
no hell. So
So does your character kind of like get corrupted, like how Scarlet Witch got corrupted by the Darkhold?
no, Lilith is actually so clueless that she's actually incorruptible. So there have been beings that have tried to corrupt her, and she has a pact with a I guess demonic entity, um, that isn't Jam, it's someone else. But no, she's not corruptible. She's not corrupted. She's so powerful in and of herself that she's just pure chaos, um, with no good or bad. It's just chaos. Because at least in the mystical understanding of chaos, there is no chaos isn't evil. Chaos is just chaos. It's a force of nature.
Yeah.
So what's evil about that? So yeah.
Yeah. I would say for me, I guess for my stories, I would say uh, there's like a character. His name is Daniel. He's because like I guess for my stories, I kind of wrote. I would say like each one is kind of like in its own earth. So I have like kind of like a multiverse of like stories, and so like he's kind of like a central part of each one, but like it's like an alternate like Earth one version of him, Earth two version of him, and like in different stories. And so I like writing like the different like I think the thing that I like writing about him is like with each story since it's like on like a different alternate version of him, it's like writing different characteristics and like just writing him differently each time and how he interacts with the characters. And sometimes I guess majority of the time I read him, he's normal. He's like a normal college student, but there's been a few times where like he's gotten powers or like he's like he just happens upon like magical suits or something around that. And so I'll say that because like I would say I kind of written because I would say that I've kind of written. I started to write him like initially uh, based on me, but I kind of written him like so far out. Like I guess what I would say I kind of written him like what I want to be or like what I aspire to be, and so like I would say I guess that's one character that I kind of hold. I guess I would say he's special. Yeah, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have so is it about the one character, or are there like other characters?
Yeah, yeah. I guess another character would be. I guess her name is Marina. She's kind of like I would say kind of his anchor
Uh-huh.
throughout. Yeah, because
Yeah.
like I know for like I guess at least for two of the stories, she's kind of like um I guess I guess I would call like a supporting like character who like talks sense into him is like it's like I would say like no matter how bad he sees the world, she's one person that he can never look bad. Like he can never see as a bad person. I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's beautiful. Yeah, I have something very similar in mind. So in the first book, the one that I have completed,
Mm-hmm.
um, um, Roku, okay, he suffers loss big time, um, because it's like the most cliche, at least his story. It comes off as the most cliche story ever. Um, he's got the girl. He has a pet familiar. Um, he's so into these magic systems. It's so much better than his old world and everything. And then the um, the murderer of the gods comes in and destroys everything. The girl that he thought he had, the one that was showing him around the universe and how things work, she's gone.
Yeah.
That pet familiar, he's gone. Everything. He's devastated. And it isn't until his best friend from the former universe incarnates into this new universe that he doesn't he doesn't actually become sane ever again until she his best friend, she comes back, or not, she comes back. Um, yeah, she comes back to him in this new incarnation. Um, and she's his anchor back into sanity, and he's her anchor because she's also given the same treatment that he is, because this murder of the gods is like manipulative guy. Oh, and by the way, this manipulator of the gods is inspired by Gnostic cosmology, which is a proto-Christian cosmology and inspired a lot by Gnosticism is inspired by a lot of the writings of early philosophers like Plato and Plotinus, who theorized that there is an evil god who creates the universe called a demiurge, and sometimes not evil, but sometimes ignorant, but this god called the demiurge, and that I realized I had forgot to mention that Gnosticism and proto Christianity is a huge influence in my writings as well. Um, and as these heroes try to defend the world from this murder of the gods, this demiurge, they kind of how do I say this? Religion and spirituality is depicted as this literary tool that either balances them or it kind of throws them off balance as well.
Yeah.
Because a title like Murder of the Gods or it insinuates like religious corruption.
Yeah.
Okay. And then something along the lines of just the power of the human struggle shows this kind of like religious within, spiritual within, and the power of the human will. That what if the gods are against us? If the gods are against us in whatever universe, then we can we in our own human will can overcome that fate, right? Now, to be clear, I'm also a Christian, so
Yeah.
I don't believe like these things, you know, as like, oh, this is my religion. No. I'm a devout Christian. I'm actually a devout Catholic. So,
Yeah.
so, but I think proto Christianity is such a fascinating thing that that a lot of Gnostics give insight into. It's very fascinating.
Yeah.
So
Now you kind of mentioned it. Well, you kind of spoke on this briefly, but we haven't really talked about, I guess, villains and like, I guess,
oh
antagonists like the stories. And so I guess I would wonder because I know you mentioned. I think you mentioned this in like your last story. But what are do you like? Is having a villain or like a something bad or antagonist? Is that something important to your stories, or in and if so, like what are some examples you can like give?
well, so this person, this murderer of the gods, who isn't really actually a person in a human sense, but is
So he's
is
like
he's a demigod.
demigod.
He's essentially a demigod. To use the basic English, because the terms I use in my books are actually very clearly like in a different language,
Yeah.
in the sense of like more Gnostic Greek words, but in a sense a demigod, who is the whole reason why he does kind of um, he's not he incarnates or he doesn't incarnate. I'm sorry. He takes on the mantle of like this murder of the gods
Yeah.
idea, because his father, okay, his father was the true murderer of the gods. Of course, he kills him. Spoiler alert. But his father was the true murderer of the gods. He destroyed the heavenly council. He destroyed order, and he kind of became this Palpatine figure of who needs a council when I am the Senate, right? And so and so he's like this his son is like, I'm gonna take this guy down, and yes, he does take this guy down eventually.
Yeah.
But then there's a power vacuum, and he's like, oh wait, the only one who can fulfill this power vacuum is me. And the power corrupts him, right? And he's the overarching villain in the story, who's actually almost literally unbeatable, because this power of this murder of the gods is is what this thing called the commander tablet. And in the commander tablet, anything that he writes as a commandment exists, or it ceases to exist. So if his commandment is, let's say for example, uh, this city ceases to exist, it ceases to exist. Or if this character ceases to exist, it ceases to exist.
Yeah.
And if this hero wins the battle, then he is he's the new king. He's the new Bellator. That's Latin for hero, actually. So, and that's the title and that's the position that's given to Roku and some other people. But also he's basically unbeatable, and he in at least the second incarnation of the murder of the gods isn't totally evil, because and this comes actually down to a more personal level, but I don't think things are truly evil. I think that everything is a perversion of the good.
Yeah.
And so that's the way I write my villains. Now, there are a lot of the things that they do tend to fight are disasters.
Oh.
So the like forces of nature that put people's lives at stake.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, those exist. They're not really villains, but they are just kind of things there to kind of hold them back against this demiurge.
Like inconveniences.
Not inconveniences, because they're a pretty big deal actually. They were the instruments of this murder of the gods to destroy the first the place where Roku kind of just like lands. But the true villain is really just him, the demiurge.
Okay.
And so how about you?
I would say, I guess for me, I would say, I feel like if like people were to read stories for the most part, I would say they probably would say like first like some of the stories at least that Daniel's probably become like he's like because he does. I would say I would kind of roll him into like he pushes the line like he does kind of stuff that's not I guess morally right, but I guess to him is there's like a bigger injustice like because like I would say like to me I would say the real antagonist is like institutional like places or like the governments or like stuff like that like he's trying to change and so the things he's doing like are trying to induce change or trying to make people aware of the thing that's happening and so he's trying to I would say he's like one of those characters who's trying to um, do good and create like a peaceful like do things to create like a better life, but in the process he does bad things. But so the way the story wraps around that is like how do the characters react to that and do they agree or not agree and like do they support it or not?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you believe that any of your characters, or even like your main character,
Yeah.
is a self-insert of you?
Oh, like representation.
Yeah.
Um, I would say yeah, pretty much because
Okay.
yeah, because I would say I think because like um I think it goes back to like how I mentioned like how I was initially writing him like based on me and kind of like how I view the world because especially because like majority of the stories are in like a college type setting and so it kind of goes by back off my experiences like the stuff I've seen in college and so and then it goes like because like some are like kind of really grounded and like can like you can see actually happening and then some are like kind of like fantastical like something you see at the MCU or DC and so
I love that.
yeah. And so like see yeah, it's kind of like a mix but then they're all because there are also like some other stories that are in because I think too where like they're kind of like love stories and so they're like there's not really like a bad guy it's more like the choices and like try not to hurt the other person, but someone will get hurt anyway. And so
So
it's
it's a drama.
yeah, like a love story drama comedy. Yeah.
Not a rom-com, but a telenovela
Yeah,
of sorts. Yeah, I need to get back to that grounded aspect. I have some very high levels of storytelling that's like fantasy and you know and like fighting the gods and this and that. And I do really tend to struggle a lot with writing just like everyday things. The I'm actually the current arc that I'm writing, which will span several chapters and take up majority of the second book of what I'm writing, is actually based on a magic academy in this universe who is kind of spectating on these events that are going on. Um, and the character who's at obviously at a loss and he kind of goes mentally insane is going to eventually run into this academy at the end of the second book. But the second book is kind of mainly focused on building characters in that academy, establishing dramas in that academy,
Yeah.
day-to-day life in that academy, and also establishing this kind of Hogwarts schools of magic kind of idea. And yes, Harry Potter is a huge inspiration. Yeah, J.K. Rowling. Ooh, I have some thoughts on her, but but man, did she make my childhood?
yeah.
So yeah. Maybe I could seek some advice from you about how to write, in a grounded, storytelling kind of way.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. Because I would say like I guess for some reason, like when I was writing those those love type stories, I get for some reason I feel like I couldn't write this, write it as like the other stories because like I know for one it's just two characters because one is where it's still kind of based on me, but like it's based off one guy Daniel, and then he meets like an Italian that who I based off of someone I met when I studied abroad in Florence, and so they kind of meet at a library, and so it kind of takes off from there. It's kind of like a something you see like out of Friends or something like that, like the show Friends.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the other story is like three characters. Um, Daniel's one of them. Marina is not. She's one of. She's another one, and then it's another one. So it's kind of like that one. I kind of model after the Archie, Betty, Veronica like kind of love triangle, but like in but I kind of made it where like we all kind of just graduated college, and so it's like what now that we're done like here and like where can we how we're grown ups but we still kind of have this kind of I guess teen love and so with like dealing with that kind of drama but still dealing with like life hitting us after college where does that go?
Yeah. Okay, that's it's very interesting. There's that recalls actually a small interaction, and yeah, a character in the second part of the story.
Mm-hmm.
She's very timid, but she latches on to this insane guy character, this insane guy who's so traumatized by everything, and she latches onto him simply because she wants him to get better. She wants him to be back, um, and he kind of sees her as like an annoyance. he's like, oh, stop following me, get off my back,
So he seems like a business person who just wants to be alone.
Yeah, because well, at first no, but then after like the whole thing, yes. Because like he doesn't want to get close to someone ever again.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and she she sees his hurt and she wants to be there for him. He's not allowing that to happen. And so there's this whole drama that happens between them that
So that's kind of
yeah.
like a metaphor on like loss and like getting love after trying to get love after you lost so much and trying to accept that love.
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually. And yeah, I'm actually not going to say what happens,
Yeah.
but after that, because but um, but yeah. So there. So I actually do want to ask actually about that and on that with your characters and even yeah, is why do we write about topics like these? You know, there's always the like, yay, we do these things. The question is why.
I would say for do you mean like I guess like the love stories or just like in general?
In general.
Okay. I would say for me, I would say it's like escapism, and I think it goes back to how I mentioned before how I like the character I've written Daniel as like someone like a better version of me or someone I like aspire to be because like um 'cause I would say like I guess I would say he's more social and so like he's like I guess he's what I guess I'm writing what I want to actually be but can't so I'm like putting it into like a fantasy that I can like think back to. Like I guess like when I close my eyes, I can think back to that world. I guess I would say.
Okay. What what's stopping you from being like Daniel? Unless Daniel has like some superpower.
Um, I don't. I guess one. I guess. I guess. I guess. I guess in my. I guess two things. I guess in terms of like the story. I guess. I guess I've written the stories. I guess in a way where it's like it's like a perfect reality and like it doesn't reflect
yeah.
like how I guess real or I guess judgmental or like how like people are in like the real world. I guess I haven't like I guess I guess because like in the stories people are like that, but they're like that because of the plot and like and to move the story forward, but not like in the like day to day. And so I guess that's something that's kind of missing. I guess I would say. And then I guess to go back to your question, what stopped me from being him? I guess I would say I guess socially because I guess I consider myself to be like I guess socially delayed because I would say because I did homeschool for like 10 years because like I started at third grade and then I did all the way up to college where I so college was is the first time I came back to like a public setting ever since second grade because that's when I stopped and so I think I quickly realized that like I my first semester here I quickly realized that like I kind of missed out like on a lot and so I feel like ever since then, even now, I feel like I kind of been doing like a student impression, like my best impression of a student, and like what they would think. And so,
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I by the way, I was homeschooled too.
I really,
Yeah. I was homeschooled from fifth grade. Oh, I'm sorry, not fifth grade. From second grade to fifth grade. It's not as long, but I get it. Um, like I kid you not, the first 2 years of middle school were so hard because I didn't get it, you know.
yeah,
Um, and I still don't get it, you know. And I think that in and of itself is okay,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. I think that was something like I've like during my later years in college, is like um that it's okay, and I think also I think that kind of ties back to religion with like God and I would say I think October of my freshman year when first semester as I would say that's when I actually end up having a relationship with God, and
Mm.
so I kind of just been like talking and like praying, and that's kind of been helping with like
Yeah,
I guess kind of being okay with myself and who I am.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yes, and yeah, and so another form of writing that I do is actually meditative poetry
Oh yeah,
and,
yeah.
and meditative journaling. Um, and so I don't know what genre or whatever because there's fiction and then there's nonfiction, and then there's whatever whatever the meditative writings are.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever category that falls into. But yeah, so I think that writing is such a great way to just express ourselves, the idealist forms of ourselves and the not idealist form of ourselves. It helps us, I believe, mentally. It's helped me mentally. Like I don't think that I was writing as much as I did before middle school.
Yeah.
Seriously. Um, Sixth and seventh grade. So my whole universe, the universe of it's called Nigeria. That's the whole universe that my stories take place in. It tends to only take place in this universe, actually, but the whole idea of the universe started in middle school when I just had this stupid dream about a cat that wanted to become a pirate. Kid you not. And I just started writing about it because I couldn't, I didn't have that many friends. But I did have this cat and who wants to be a pirate. And and the whole reason why he becomes a pirate, it's funny enough, is because he wants to be human.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really odd that I really wrote that in like I think it was more specifically seventh grade. But so the very few friends I had at the time, they were so on board with it. They actually drew pictures of my characters. Unfortunately, I don't have pictures of these characters anymore, but I'm still in contact with some of these friends even to this day, and they remember those writings that I had in. And by the way, this was in creative writing class. My teacher at that time was like, "Wow, this is really good," you know.
Were you writing like those long, like, were you like a long writer then too?
Yes, but in the context of what a long writer is like 10 pages, so
Mm.
5-10 pages, which is still a lot for that age at that time. But that was because of how like I was like, oh, look at these other people, spending time playing soccer or whatever. I just want to write about this cat pirate. um, and so of course, um, as the years went by, my writing actually lessened. The more socially involved I became, my writing lessened. But then there was this crazy year happened. You might know it. It's called 2020. Yeah,
Into 2021.
it's a 2021 that this whole universe of Nigeria suddenly sparks into like an actual conceptual idea, because there was always a shared universe among my stories, but there wasn't like there wasn't like a set name for this universe. There wasn't a and then of course in 2020 around 2021, end of 2021, starting my college years, there became an idea of a multiverse of of Nigeria. You know, and when I say multiverse of Nigeria, is in the sense of Nigeria wasn't the only one. You know, and that might have been inspired by that whole multiverse saga that was going on from Marvel. So, yeah, Marvel inspires their writers and inspires mine. Except mine are, I guess, more related, more inspired by Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter than it is on Marvel, but it still is.
Yeah.
In its own way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as we close out this episode, I have I guess two closing kind of reflective questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so my first one is, what advice would you give student writers who feel like the writers are, I guess, too much or too dark? Like what would you say to them?
Wait, the too much or too dark?
Yeah, like they're like giving like too much of like their vision out in like one story.
Have writer friends. They'll tell you when it's too much. And if they're truly friends, they'll actually help you on how it won't be too much. Because that's what happened with me. Too dark. Don't be afraid to be too dark, honestly. Um, if there are some really gruesome elements in your stories, if are um, there are some really like dark places that make your readers think, or your editors think, then tap into it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what the great writers do. That's what Tolkien does. That's what C.S. Lewis does. That's what Stephen King does. Uh, um, yeah, don't be afraid to go into those things. It's not taboo. We're adults here. Unless you're writing to children, of course. That's a different story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so my last question is, if someone listened to this and wanted to start writing as a way to process things that they're going through, what would you tell them and like to help them go ahead and start doing it?
The best writers have always written about their experiences. And of course, like their own universes. Take for example, J.R.R. Tolkien again, who went through an entire war. Okay,
Yeah.
an entire war, and he was injured, and he wrote The Hobbit from that.
Mhm.
And all of those, he would then be so famous he would write The Lord of the Rings, and his compilation of like stories from his lifetime and just imaginations and dreams. He would then have another book, after The Lord of the Rings called The Silmarillion, which is one of my most favorite books of all time. It's kind of like the Bible of Tolkien literature. He never really finished it in his lifetime, if I'm not mistaken. It was finished by one of his other relatives, I believe it's Christopher Tolkien. But use your experiences to inspire your writing, because that's where all the greatest writers, that's where they base all their stuff from. So yeah.
Sounds pretty good. And with that, I'd like to thank you for coming on this week's episode. Do you have any other closing remarks?
Keep writing.
Yeah.
Don't stop.
Yeah, and I also would like to just add like to don't be afraid, because you never know, like if your word to ever get published, you never know who you can reach. So I would say don't be afraid to tap into whatever topic you want to go with, especially if it's dark. So yeah, and with that, I see you on the next episode.